Predator on the NES. The 1987 Predator is one of my all-time favorite movies, starring one of my all-time favorite actors, Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger. Yep, that's his middle name, and don't you forget it, super serious face. The thing I love the most about this movie is the fact that it combines die-hard action and sci-fi horror, which it was different from the horror movies that I was accustomed to. You know, the ones that focus on the scares and the excessive gore, which was always nice. However, while Predator is definitely gore-heavy, it manages to pull off the scares in a different way. One of my biggest fears, even to this day, is being watched. I don't like it when someone's behind me, or don't like it when someone's watching me eat, nor do I like it when people watch me sleep. I think that's creepy as fuck, by the way. And that's essentially what the Predator does in this movie. He is like a hunter stalking his prey, which is the underlying theme to this movie. He has thermal vision, which allows him to see his victim, and it can detect a person's body temperature, which I thought was one of the coolest looking effects I've ever seen in a movie. Yet the horrifying part is when the Predator actually removes his mask, and Arnold tells him that he's one ugly motherfucker.
Ugly motherfucker.
But yeah, I love this movie so much, and one day I may sit down and actually review this movie in depth. But for now, let's talk about the NES game. First thing you need to know about this game is the fact that it was actually developed by Pack-In Video, the company that also made other movie licensed games on the NES such as Die Hard and Rambo. However, they are best known for a little farming simulation game I'm pretty sure no one has ever heard of before, called Harvest Moon. That's right, they made the first Harvest Moon game for the Super Nintendo, and the rest was history. But let's get back to Predator. So the other thing you need to know about this game is the fact that it's actually a port of the MSX version, which shares a lot of similarities with the NES version. It reuses some of the graphics, as well as the music. This is what the MSX version sounds like. And this is what the NES version sounds like. Yep, it's the same music by the same composer. Just a fun little factoid I figured I'd throw in there because I'm such a nerd like that. But nevertheless, when you start up the game, you get treated with a nice little cinematic of the Predator's ship shooting out what appears to be a pod to Earth, in which the Predator is sent to Earth to cause havoc and hunt down some humans. Why, that ugly motherfucker! Much like the movie that this game is based on, you take on the role of Major Alan Dutch Schaefer, a Vietnam War veteran whose team is sent out on a rescue mission in a vast jungle in Central America. But of course, everything goes wrong as each and every one of Dutch's team members gets killed off, leaving Dutch as the sole survivor who must now contend with this unknown alien assassin. So the game does a pretty good job of following some of the plot points from the movie, despite some things being changed like, wait, why is Dutch wearing pink? I don't know about you guys, but I watched the movie and I guess I must have been colorblind or something because I don't remember seeing Dutch wear pink in the movie. Did you? Like seriously, I get that the NES had a limited color palette, but why would you go with pink in a hostile jungle setting? It'd be the same as wearing a signpost on you that says shoot me. Anyways, you start the game without any weapons, even though it looks like Dutch is holding a gun. Either that or he's holding a pretend gun. But seriously, why wouldn't he have his weapons already on him? He's a mercenary! Hell, if I was being sent out to a jungle and I had to fight a predator, I'd be fucking decked out head to toe. I'd be looking like a fucking space marine. So the game is your typical action side-scroller where you must reach the end while dealing with enemies. Nothing more, nothing less. However, instead of starting out with a gun like you would expect, you start out with your fists, which doesn't really do you any good because not only do you have any range, but you also can't duck and punch, which is a problem as most of the enemies in this game are on the ground. Also, gotta love the enemy selection here. You have the green scorpions, which will allow you to ride on them, and the red scorpions who won't let you ride on them because they're assholes. You also have soldiers, some slimes ripped straight from Dragon Quest, butterflies, birds that crap all over you, and a bunch of other random shit that I think someone had too much time on their hands with. Yeah, there is a lot of enemies in this game, and none of them make any sense, and become more of a hindrance if anything. Which I get it. You didn't want to make a game where it's just you fighting the predator. I get that. But you could have put a little bit more thought into this. Like, seriously, you couldn't have thought of any other enemies to put in this game, like tigers, snakes, spiders? You know, things that you might find in a jungle? But no, let's just put some random shit in there. I mean, the kids will eat it up, right? Nevertheless, there are weapons in this game. In fact, you can pick up the machine gun at the very start of the first level, which it's easy to miss because it's up in a fucking tree. You also have the grenades, which come in handy for blowing up rocks that block your path. However, the grenades aren't very helpful against enemies, mainly because you'll never be quick enough to throw them. Also, it's a bitch just getting them to stick to the rocks. And yes, if you are not careful, the grenades will explode on you, and son of a fucking bitch! Then you have the laser gun, which not only destroys rocks, but is the only weapon that can be used against the predator. Oh, fuck! I should also mention this game is fucking hard. But we'll get into that. At the end of 5 levels or so, you'll be dealing with a boss, which is the predator, or I should say, predators, because there's more than one. But let me tell you about these boss fights. Oh boy, they are a fucking joke. All you have to do is just keep firing your laser gun at them and they'll inevitably go down. Hell, they won't even attack you as long as you keep firing at them. That's how fucking easy these boss fights are. Seriously, what's the point of even having the predator in the game at all? You might as well just be a regular enemy. Once you've completed a couple of stages, the gameplay switches over to an auto-scroll shooter, which they call Big Mode. How clever. The game devs are trying to insult our intelligence, despite the fact that the joke's on you motherfuckers! Well, at least Dutch is wearing the appropriate colored outfit, yet why is his sprite so damn big? It's like he ate one of those giant mushrooms from Mario Maker 2. Anyways, in this mode, the screen scrolls as you shoot at bubbles and collect power-ups to your gun. What makes this mode so frustrating is not only will you get hit cause you're such a big-ass target, but shooting at these bubbles is a bitch in of itself. Seriously, why is it so hard to hit these damn things? And what idiot decided to make bubbles an enemy in the first place? I mean, bubbles are the least threatening thing in the world. Ah, bubbles! And what's worse is trying to collect the power-ups, which they always seem to pull away towards the left, despite the screen is auto-scrolling to the right. Yeah, whoever programmed this part deserves a swift punch in the dick. Once you reach the end of the stage, you'll fight a predator boss, which honestly feels like an actual boss fight. But it's after you've beaten him, you get taken back to the regular side-scroller, so yeah, fuck this game. It doesn't want me to have fun when I want to. But nevertheless, you'll be switching back and forth to these game modes, and that's pretty much the point of this game. And all jokes aside, I can't really say this is an awful game, but it's not a great game either, as the difficulty of this game is fucking insane. And I'll be honest with you guys, I have no problem with a challenge in a video game, but this game is just relentless. Not only do you have to contend with the bad enemy placement, but you also have to contend with the awful controls, as the movement and jumping is just off, which seems to be the biggest issue with this game. What doesn't help is the fact that you don't get to keep your weapons every time you finish the stage. And I ask, what's the point of even having weapons at all if I can't keep them? Another thing that makes this game so difficult is that every time you get hit, you get knocked back, which is common for games such as Castlevania and Ninja Gaiden, but in Predator, there is a lot of stages that require you to do precise platforming, and if an enemy hits you while you are jumping, you just plummet down to your death. And trust me when I say you are going to die a lot in this game, and you only start out with 3 lives. Once those 3 lives are gone, it's game over, and you are taken right back to the title screen. Yeah, another thing to keep in mind is that the game does have unlimited continues, which that's a good thing for games like this. However, if you decide to continue, make sure you hit the continue option. Otherwise, if you choose the start option on the title screen, then that's going to erase your entire progress and you have to start the game all over again. Another thing I should mention is when you pause the game. If you push any other button on your controller besides start button, then guess what happens? You instantly die. Now this does come in handy if you find yourself stuck between rocks or you take the wrong path and end up blocked. And let me just say, while it is beneficial to have this option, it's easy to make a simple mistake. And in a game where you only have 3 lives, it's really not worth it in the end. And I have a confession to make. I did use save states for this game. Why? Because everything about this game is bullshit. As I mentioned, the game requires you to do precise platform jumping, which is easier said than done, as I found it difficult to even make these jumps without falling through the platform, which you will do a lot in this game. What's also frustrating about this game is some of the level layouts. Like, there will be times where you won't know what you will be able to jump on, as some of the platforms aren't even platforms that you can safely land on. To make matters worse, there are some platforms that you can actually slide through. I'm not kidding. Look at how many times I've died here on stage 3, all because I slid through the platform. All because this game wants to be picky on what is a platform and what isn't. Whoever programmed this game is clearly not human. I think it was the fucking Predator himself that programmed this game. Of course, I should mention the game does have health replenishers and 1-ups, but you're gonna lose them quicker than you pick them up. It's kinda like trying to save your receipts, only you'll end up losing them in the end, so it's kinda pointless. Which I know that analogy doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but neither does this game, so forget about that shit. Let's talk about the final boss so I can end this review. So after 30 mind-grueling stages, you'll come to the epic showdown with a giant floating predator head. Really? A giant predator head? I don't see a problem with that. All jokes aside, this is perhaps the toughest boss fight yet, as the head has 2 phases. The one where he's wearing a mask, and the other where the mask is off, and shit gets real. And when I say shit gets real, it gets real. Oh yeah, I died at this boss so many times, but once I figured out his pattern, I was able to achieve ultimate victory. Yes! Yes! I beat Predator! Now give me my ending that I deserve! Congratulations, you survived. You know what? This game isn't really that bad. Yeah, the game is hard with the way it controls the level design and bullshit enemy placement, but I actually kinda like this game despite its flaws. I mean, it's certainly nothing like any of the other great NES action games like Contra, but I would say it's an average game that is kinda fun to play, and the music is really good. So all in all, Predator is not the worst action game on the NES. But I would definitely not say it's a great game by any stretch of the imagination. But if you want to check the game out for yourself, then by all means, go right ahead. But let me just tell you, once you've beaten that game, it's gonna make you into a sexual Tyrannosaurus, just like me. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this review. And stay tuned because next week... The hell? Why is Zombie Fan calling me? Hey, what's up?
Hey, PC, remember you had me watch Doom Annihilation with you? Well, guess what, motherfucker? I just gifted you your next review.
Yeah?
It's payback time, bitch.
Wonder what he sent me.